I feel like it was only yesterday when I saw the first foldable display, and I'm of course referring to the scene in Red Planet where Val Kilmer's character Gallagher unrolls a navigational display on Mars. 24 years later, I'm holding something that you could say is straight out of sci-fi. Not only that, the blast from the past here is the brand Motorola, and you may have even recognized the model name. So, in my hand, I have the Razr 50, and for those following at home, it is from the same family as the original Razr phone that peaked cool in the early 2000s. Everyone, including myself, wanted one. But today we are reviewing this, the Razr for this generation, folding Android phone with P-OLED displays, a slim form factor, an attractive price, and what I think is the most unique feature of all, the Razr 50 has the most powerful cover screen of any foldable phone out right now. And by powerful, I mean absolutely useful. But has Motorola achieved a new paradigm shift with the Razr 50? Could this be the return of the king, a Motorola Renaissance? Well, let's find out. Huge thanks to Motorola for sending the Razr 50 out for review. Links below, of course, if you'd like to learn more, and I have also linked a few of our Aussie retailers that stock this phone. But before you rush out, let me tell you all about it right after this intro. So holding the
Hello, Moto.
1 second.
One eternity later.
Now, I usually talk about specifications first, but with the Razr 50, I cannot hold back on starting with the design and usability. So let's begin there, and then we'll come back to the specs. The design of the Razr 50 fits perfectly into my palm when it is folded. When you do pop it out, it feels like a much larger normal phone. I can reach all the buttons. The lock button is a little bit high for my thumb, but because of the way you hold it, it's actually quite nice in the sense when you open it, that's the only time you really want to touch it. Other than that, it gives lots of space for the keyboard, and of course, it has a beautiful large screen that when held horizontally, you get a great view of the content you want to watch. On the back, we have vegan leather, and it is a bit of a magnet for lint in your pocket, but it feels really nice to the touch and seems really solid. I've been using this for the last week or so, and it has not scratched or been damaged, which is always impressive. Around the edges, we've got very nice rounded off metal that the only point that's a little bit sharp is right here at the top where the actual hinge meets when you flip it open. On the front, we have a cutout for the front-facing selfie camera, and on the back, or kind of the AKA front, depending on how you look at it, we've got two lenses in the front and a little light right there, and you'll love this. Haha, lights. Looking at the exterior, we've got a fingerprint button for lock and unlock, we've got volume up and down, and a USB-C charger, plus your SIM card tray. Now onto the distinctive part of this phone, the hinge. And it is truly impressive and one of its standout physical features. I can feel and see that Motorola has refined the hinge design to make it both durable and smooth, especially for fidgety people like me. What makes this hinge great is that it allows the phone to be folded flat without a gap in between the screens, giving it a very seamless and sleek look when closed. Now, with any foldable phone, the hinge opens up new ways to use the device. It is perfect for group video calls, snapping that classic selfie, or even watching media without needing to prop the phone up against anything. Speaking of the screen, the large POLED display is impressive in person. The colors, the resolution, and just the size provides a great experience in a very small package. But the Razr 50 screen is not only beautiful to look at, it is almost crease-free. That's the question that always comes up. In fact, you really need to look hard to see the crease, and usually at fairly odd angles and not the way you'd be using the phone. And you can also feel it as you slide your finger across it when traversing the center of the area. The back display is the killer feature of the Razr 50. And here you get almost full functionality of the Android OS, including notifications, quick setting, messages, maps, Gmail, Google Photos, and more. You can perform actions just as easily as you would on the main display, making it incredibly versatile and You know what? Extremely convenient. Now I say almost because not all apps work natively, but some can work in widget mode. Either way, it's a useful screen to reply to messages with a full screen keyboard, view emails, skip a song, view what's next up on your agenda, and of course scroll through options like dialing out and of course checking the weather.
Everyone is playing the AI game today, and the Razr 50 leverages Google Gemini AI. With a single voice command, you have access to one of the most powerful language models available today. But what does that actually mean? Well, it is seamlessly integrated with Google's suite of apps such as Maps, Gmail, and YouTube. You can get help with drafting emails, offering navigational tips, or organizing tasks, acting almost like a real assistant. I asked Gemini to handle the usual small tasks like starting timers, setting reminders, and drafting notes, and it handled those flawlessly. But what really sets Gemini apart from the classic Google Assistant is how naturally it understands me. Unlike previous iterations where you had to use specific keywords or commands and repeat them multiple times, Gemini can interpret what you're saying in a more conversational and intuitive way. It's like talking to a person rather than a digital voice assistant. And that seamless, natural interaction feels like a big leap forward in AI assistance.
All right, let's talk cameras. The Razr 50 setup is absolutely decent, but there are a few trade-offs, unfortunately.
First off, you won't find a telephoto lens here. Instead, there is an ultra-wide angle lens alongside the main 50-megapixel shooter camera. The main camera does a decent job in pure daylight with plenty of detail, but the processing could be a bit better. With some tweaks, I think Motorola can fix it in the next software update. Of course, Google can do that too. In certain situations, photos had some heavy-handed sharpening, leading to jagged lines and textures that look a little bit artificial. That said, dynamic range is solid and colors pop nicely without going overboard, and shots of people look pretty natural, and especially in, like I said, outdoor sunshine, it looks great.
Now, let's talk about the day-to-day usability of a phone like this. Now, I tested the Razr 50 on the Telstra network for calls, and I had no issues with signal strength or call quality. Conversations were crystal clear, and people on the other side reported my voice coming through perfectly. But what makes the Razr 50 truly rad is how you answer and end phone calls. Now, I cannot get enough of that. When it comes to sound, the Razr 50 is equipped with a pair of stereo speakers that deliver impressive audio quality even at max volume. The sound is lively and full, although there isn't a lot of bass to it, likely due to the tightly packed internals. Inside, we have a MediaTek Dimensity 7300X with 8 gigs of RAM and 256 gigs of storage. The chip supports Wi-Fi 6E, which bodes well for fast Wi-Fi speeds. Here is a test of my Wi-Fi 7 6 GHz channel with the phone. For the number-inclined folk Geekbench tests, I got 1058 on the single-core performance test and 3026 in multi-core scores. This translates to a fairly smooth Android experience across both day-to-day and gaming. The main display is a 6.9-inch Full HD POLED with a resolution of 2640 by 1080. It's 10-bit HDR10+ and covers 120% of the DCI-P3 color gamut. The panel is running an adaptive refresh rate that peaks at 120 Hz, which provides a fluid and responsive touch experience. Ultimately, what these numbers really mean is that your eyes are going to see a wide range of colors very, very smoothly. Now, to power all the visual theater, we have a battery totaling 4,200 milliamps. It comes with the ability to fast charge at 30 watts called turbo power and 15-watt wireless charging to get you up and running quickly, because you will need it. So let me be fair and share some drawbacks with you. Battery life. It could be better. During heavy use days, the battery drained rather quickly. This happened on a day trip to Melbourne. Halfway through the day, I needed to charge my phone, but I was really pushing it and using it as a hotspot. On a typical day, the Razr 50 easily lasted me through the entire day. The internal selfie camera is a 32 megapixel sensor and delivers decent shots in its own right. And this is the selfie camera and microphone test.
I think it looks really nice and the microphone is absolutely doable.
However, I find it doesn't really make much sense to use when the foldable design lets you utilize the external 50 megapixel shooter with the built-in front-facing viewfinder. I mean, it's much easier to take a photo like this. But to hit this price point, Motorola had to make a few tough compromises, mostly affecting performance. However, thanks to the latest Android optimizations, it still manages to perform very well. The MediaTek Dimensity 7300X chipset isn't known for being top tier, and you may notice occasional lags, particularly during more intensive multitasking. The upside though is an excellent thermal management system, and the phone stays cool because it's not being pushed to its limit, and it's very efficient, which, to be fair, is a pretty good trade-off for everyday use. Lastly, software updates, something that the Android ecosystem always has to worry about. Motorola's promise of 3 Android OS updates and 4 years of security patches feels a tad short compared to the competition, which offer more extended support. So I held the Razr 50 in my hand.
And based on what I know now, I asked myself, are any of these concerns or deal breakers for you, Pat? If I had to buy an Android phone today, I think I would choose the Razr 50. Not just because of its hinge, but because the hinge plus the screen makes it so much better. Or at least it'll end up on my top 3 because these are minor concerns in the whole scheme of things.
To wrap up, the Motorola Razr 50 is a stylish and practical option in the foldable phone market, especially if you're looking for something unique without breaking the bank. The device is water resistant, which is surprising, and the vegan leather on the back adds a very premium touch while making it very comfortable to hold. While it's not the most powerful phone out there, it brings enough to the table to make it a solid choice if you're after that foldable experience. As always, price plays a big role, and the Motorola Razr 50 is competitively positioned in the market anyway. But if you spot this one on sale, it becomes an even stronger contender and well worth picking up if you're looking to dive into that foldable experience, to which now I think I'm a convert and I really like it and will miss it. Friends, thank you very much for watching. Let me know your thoughts below. Are you on board with the foldable trend? Huge thanks to Motorola for sending over the Razr 54 review. If you enjoyed this video, drop a like, and if you're interested in more content like this, then hit that subscribe button to support us. Thanks for watching, and bye!